YouTube, welcome back. Thank you for joining. Today for a leg day. Something a little bit different. Hang on, let me sort myself out. I know you're supposed to edit this sort of stuff out, but it's just easier if I just do it like this. For me at least anyway. So right, welcome back. And didn't film last week. Why didn't I film last week? A lot going on. I had a bit of an introvert week last week. Just chilled out. Didn't really go on social media or anything like that. Did my work, did my shit, trained, and actually a lot going on. There's a lot going on for a man that doesn't do anything. A few developments have happened in the prep. Negative, but nothing that's going to sort of hold me back in that sort of sense. So I'll go over that after. There's some bits to actually I might touch on it now while I'm going to do this, and I'll make this while we're doing it. So we're doing legs, filming legs today because we're going to train at Rotherham, or I'm going to train at Rotherham. I usually do go to Derby, but I've injured my glutes and hamstrings somehow. Well, I say somehow. I was basically doing a Kelso shrug and just squeezing so hard through my glutes and my hamstrings with my feet into the floor. I've actually strained them. So if I try to bend over a little bit, no bueno, no good. So, and it's actually weird because it doesn't affect my hamstring movements. It's my quad movements in like the stretch. So when I tried to do the hip press in Derby, which is the machine I like to use, last week, it was just no good. I think I might be able to get away with it today. I'm not too sure, but I don't want to get all the way there. Just use that one machine because it has been twinging a little bit. So I literally can just go to Rotherham, and they've got like 5 or 6 leg presses. I'll find a leg press. I may even have to do the single leg Atlantis, something that I feel comfortable in for my sort of like main quad movement, and then I can just run that today, and then back to business. Which I'm not stressed about, I'm not concerned about. I'm not one of them people who, if I can't do a certain movement within my program, I get stressed. I'm still going to be able to hit the quads regardless. So, not injured, but just a little bit of a workaround this week before we get into next. That was that. And then, if you've watched me for a few weeks, or at least a little bit of this series, you know that I keep saying, I feel like I'm not on cycle, or I feel like I'm just not getting that sort of feeling. And it's because, again, so my last prep a couple of years ago, I went 12 weeks with running nothing, and we didn't know what's going on. This prep again, my body weight's just been holding the look. It just like a softer look, just not something's not quite right. Everything I was running, I was like, I'm certain it is what it is. I tested the Primo was right. I tested the test was right. And the Mastron was the only thing I hadn't tested. But we'd had a batch come through of Mastron. I tested it. There was 100 bottles of this batch. Came back spot on. So I said to my clients, there's 100 bottles there. This is where you can get it from, essentially. Get it before it's gone. And then I was going to get 10 bottles, but some of my clients couldn't get them or couldn't afford it till the end of the month. So I was like, well, you hold it, you go and get it, and I'll just get it from the same source, but I'll just get the other lot. And when I got sent the other lot, it was the same. It was a different batch number, but the date was very close to the other batch's date. So I was like, it's old Alpha Pharma stock. So it was like, it's been around for, a couple of years by this point, and it's just not been used. So it was like, it was like a month after the other one. So I was like, it's going to be right. And it was nothing. There's nothing. It's oil. So a gram of mass down, which explains everything. Because I was still running 700 tests, 300 Primo, is it? But generally I'd cruise on 1,000, like 500, or 400. So hence the reason why I was, I cruise on 1,000 because, again, high drug exposure in the past, and I'm like 200 and, was like 260 pound. That's sort of generally where I'd be. Not everybody's going to do that, but again, depending on the level and the size that you are. So that was the reason. And we put Mastron back in, the tested Mastron, the right Mastron, back in the Sunday, thought this is day number 4, and I can already feel the difference. I know it sounds ridiculous, but obviously I'm still running anabolics. I've just added a master, I've just added another component, and yeah, my check-in yesterday was things are moving like pretty quickly. We added cleaning on Sunday. It's Thursday now. I'm 6 pounds down this morning. I'm 247. So new low today, 247. New low yesterday of 249. New low the day before that of 250. And then it was like 252.8 the day before that. So that brings me like 6 pounds down from Sunday, which is quite quick. Too quick. So we'll just have a little bit of a look on Saturday where things are. One thing we don't want to do is just accelerate the process too much. I've still been trending down slightly, but just the look is different, because when you're on cycle, the look is different. But that's where we are. And then on top of that, so I'm injured, I've not been running the gear. And then on top of that, the growth hormone I was using, same story. So as you've seen in the previous YouTubes, I use the Syndica pens. The guy where we get the Syndica pens from was on holiday, but there's another guy that does the Syndica pens. So yeah, it's the decent. I'll get them from there. Just like very, very bloated last week, and then I was making my turkey meal on one of the nights last week. I just felt a bit nauseous. I was like, fucking hell, I don't really fancy eating this. Bearing in mind, obviously, I'm on prep and I'm a fucking greedy bastard anyway. So I thought, oh, fucking hell, I hope I'm not getting ill. And then my oats meal, the JP oats I was going to have, again, I felt nauseous, ready to eat it. And I was like, fucking hell, any bodybuilder knows, or anyone dieting knows, oats in a prep is like fucking life. So didn't think that of it. And then we had a spike meal on the weekend, not this weekend, gone the weekend before, which was the pizza and fries. I was like 3 slices, and bearing in mind it's a pizza, so they're thin, they're not very big. It was a pizza, I was 3 slices in and I was fucking done. Like, I'd struggled to eat a pizza, and that's never happened to me ever in my life. So I've come to the conclusion that the growth hormone pen that I was using is potentially a GLP, which I'm fucking devastated about, because I didn't want to touch a GLP ever. Just for me personally, my thought process within myself and what I, sort of like to control myself. So I've sent that off for testing. So everything's been sent for testing yesterday, just to confirm. I hope it comes back and it's not, but it only the thing that makes sense. We pulled it out, bloat disappeared, weight came down anyway, because obviously whatever was in there is come out, and then put the growth hormone back in. Absolutely fine. So the growth hormone I've been running, I'm pretty sure was a GLP. The mass run I've been running was nothing, so I'm 1,000 milligrams down, and then I squeezed my glutes too hard and hurt my hamstrings. So that happened last week. So it was a little bit it was a lot for me, was that. But again, we are how we define situations, and I can cry about it and fucking make myself the victim, or I can be like, fucking hell, that was a shit runner, look, how do I make it better? And that's what we're doing. How do we make it better? So everything's back in, we're ready to go, and we'll just say this is prep week 1. go from there. Luckily, I don't have a show in mind. I don't have a show that I've got to do or in mind. It's just a case of turning up to a show that, when I'm ready, or picking a run of shows when I'm close to being ready. I'm going to have a little bit of a hiatus out of the country for a few weeks as well, within the next couple of months, which it isn't going to be an issue. Everything will still be the same, but I can show you that. It's not something I've actually done on prep unless I've been going and traveling for shows, but where I'm going, I'm not concerned. So that's going to be a little bit different and something I can vlog. And that was a long introduction, but I just wanted to bring you up to speed with what we're on with and where we're going. So everything's hopefully from this point on just gonna, because my training feels good. By all accounts, like, my training feels really good. There's more injuries than usual, which again is reminiscent of being on a cruise, because there's less fluid probably around the joints, and issues with tendonitis, and then my knees were hurting, and I was like, fucking hell, I'm falling to pieces here, what's going on? And then obviously, 1 + 1 is 2, like, no drugs in there, training like I've got drugs in there, trying to recover like I've got drugs in there, all makes sense to me. So fingers crossed from here on out, we're going to be on a flyer, and there's no reason why it shouldn't be, actually. So we'll crack on. I'll get to the gym. There's going to be a few, again, because today's session is still gonna get after it, but at the same time, the quad movements may be slightly pulled back, or whatever hurts will be pulled back. If it doesn't, we'll go for it. But there's a lot of different teaching points we can touch on, just in terms of some things I'm seeing coming back with clients quite regularly, and things that I've managed to do with clients to get the quads to fucking blow up, which is pretty much against the grain, potentially. It's common sense to me, but you know, against the bodybuilding grain, if you like. So it's probably worth sticking around for that. So I'll get the pre-workout in, which is Crank Pump Pro, code TONK, obviously, and then Crank pre-workout, which is going to be, I literally have like a quarter of a scoop of this. Yeah, which is that. So that's how much out of that, just to give me a bit of summit. Can you see? Looks like nothing. A bit of summit to get me through the leg session. You know, because of the bundle of energy that I am, I don't need a lot of caffeine. And then basically just 1 3/4 of this, so it's like 2 scoops altogether. And I think that is it. Yeah, I think that's it. So I'll meet you at the gym. What I'll do actually, I'll go and do all my rolling around and shit, like I always say. I've got some work I need to do first before I get into the session, just to try and loosen the hams off, the glutes off, and you know, some ankle mobility. And then we'll get there and we will crack on. Right, we're in the gym. We are loosened up, or as loose as we're going to get it anywhere. Right, so exercise 1 for me is always going to be an adductor, really. More so for a warm-up than anything. I feel like, because I don't really squat to depth, which is something I'll touch on later on, I'm going to miss out on some adductor. You're going to get it with hamstring curls and things like that, RDLs. But essentially for me, this is a really good warm-up to get some blood in the legs. It's more of a potentiation style of set. I'm not looking at going absolutely balls to the wall heavy on this. Again, adductors are really easy to tear, as you'll know, people with adductor tears. Last thing you want to do is come in first set, first exercise, and just try and fucking shift a load of weight. So this is more a potentiation to the beginning of the session. Still to failure, but more so on a volume perspective, looking between 15 to 20 reps, something like that. Just a quick tip on how to get in the adductors if you ever struggle, or at least these adductors anyway, the prime ones. You can pretty much do this with any, to be fair. So I'll always start with it close together like this, then I'll plant my feet on here, and then I'll reach down, and then I'll open. But I'm also stood up like this. Then once you're there, you can sit in like that. Otherwise, you just can't get your legs high. You just can't get your legs wide enough. And then one thing to try and remember when you're doing this, looks like I'm giving birth to you here, but I'll change the angle, don't worry, is that we don't want to be thinking about driving. People what try and do is try and drive with the feet at the bottom like this, bring the feet together, and then you start doing this weird push through the knees and the feet. We need to think about training here, right? So we're thinking about just closing this gap. So try and relax your feet as much as you can, and then just close the gap, squeeze, control out. Find the stretch, but don't let it stretch you too far. We don't want to go into an aggressive stretch. Just where our active range of motion, and then squeeze. You can tuck your hips back, which is going to help you, which is going to stop you from trying to push up like this. So hips back, and just drive and squeeze. And again, it's like anything, we don't just want to chuck and then nip, and then let it come down. We want to drag and then squeeze. Really purposeful with the direction of the movement. So I'm going to do a few warm-ups here, and then I'll get into a working set. Just 2 working sets here. Then we've got 3 working sets on the majority of things today, as long as this fucker plays ball. It felt okay then, actually, when I was doing some warming up, so that's a very positive sign. It's quite loud and quite warm in here today as well, but we'll crack on, do a warm-up, and then the same sort of format.
I'll show like one of the main working sets of each exercise, give you a little bit of how I'm going to do it, any nuances, what you need to look out for or you can try, and then we'll trundle through the session, and hopefully just be an absolute massive mess on the floor at the end and the job has been done. Okay then. Set one, motherfuckers, of the session. Actually feels pretty nice for a start. Again, nothing too heavy to start with. That's, again, very important doing this. Like just chucking your shit is gonna get you snapped up. One more here. I'll probably go with the same load there. Again, looking to hit between 15 and 20. Give myself a couple of minutes. Let the blood flow sort of settle down, go back in, try and match that. And then we will head downstairs and hit some lying hamstring curls. Right, exercise number 2. We're going to do the prime, the pin loaded. The only thing here at Rotherham is there's not actually a lying ham curl that I sort of get on with. The primes for me are sort of in between. It's like one back, sort of like number 5 it's too long, number 4 it's too short. It's like it needs to be a little bit in between on terms of where it is on my calves. But I can still get away with it. Still feels pretty good. It's just like the Atlanta's one absolutely nails me. And you'll know this, like mechanically when you got on a machine that we'd have all done it. You've all got on a machine and just like, regardless of what body part it is, like fucking hell, that's nailed me that. And essentially that's what a lot of machines over at Derby do for my legs. So we're cracking this. We've got 3 sets. There's 3 sets all the way through, 3 working sets. Again, volume of hamstrings across the week because I just train legs once a week. Is mainly done in this session. So I've got, 5, 6 hamstrings in this session. It's not a massive amount, but 3 sets on this. Doesn't make sense for me to go and do 3 different hamstring exercises here. And again, it's like an 8 to 12 rep range, something like that. Something like that is, it's an 8 to 12 rep range. Across all 3 sets. I don't need to, because the rep range there is quite broad, I don't need to change going from like an 8 to a 6 to an 8 or whatever. That's the rep range I like to stay in, especially with leg training. I find if I lower the rep range too much, I can be very, very strong at legs if I build things up, and I always get to a point where I get so strong that I just get injured. So it makes sense to be in that almost medium heavy range where I'm not at this end of the spectrum and I'm not going too light at the same time. I find that's a really nice place for me to be. And yeah, that's it. So I'll just show you a couple of cues. The one thing that people struggle with the most is most definitely this machine in terms of hamstring development. And it's because we're taking the glutes are just overtaking everything. Glutes and lower back. You need to allow yourself to be really vulnerable on this machine. And I always said, I've maybe said this before on YouTube, your hamstring is the bicep of your leg. Your glute is your delt. If you're doing a bicep curl, I always say this to my clients, you wouldn't go like this to get your delt here and this up. Similar to doing a hamstring curl. your glutes coming up and your hamstrings coming in. This is your hamstring, you're missing everything out. You want to be in this position here. So again, glutes need to be down, and then your basically your calf needs to come up and over like this whilst keeping this down, rather than doing this, because we're just going to miss massive portions of the hamstring out. And if you've got a decent glutes and small hamstrings, it's absolutely how you're doing it. And just play it back. Guarantee your glutes are lifting up. There's going to be some movement in glutes, there has to be, but it wants to be minimal. And when I just like show you a set here, for example, a little bit of a warm-up set, you'll be able to see my glutes do move slightly, but they're not up and down, and I'm not using the glute whatsoever. Now for me, it's a little bit different because my connection on legs in particular is I move and I connect. So even if I'm rocking and slinging this shit around, it's absolutely nailing my hamstring. But for the majority of people, connection on hamstring is vital. So just making sure that you're getting that connection first and just being patient with progressions. As soon as that progression or as soon goes up and you can't feel it, or as soon as you feel like you need to speed everything up, and then you're losing it either at the top and your glutes coming up, it's too much. But we're just getting nothing from that. We need to be clever and smart and just not fucking meathead bodybuilders and be like, right, how are we going to produce muscle growth here? Is it from doing everything that I've always done forever and still having no hamstrings? So the answer is obviously no. The answer is changing something that I'm comfortable with and just taking my time and being patient. So I'll go through it, give you a little bit of a look, give you a few tips, and then I'll do a working set, and then I'll just carry on the other 3 working sets. And then next is what's supposed to be like my compound movement on quads. So I'm just having a little bit of a look around and seeing what there is. I'll just have to have a feel out and just see what feels nice, and then we'll just run that for today. Right. First thing we don't do is this. You don't want to squeeze your glutes so hard that you're locked in. I'd say the word is pursed. Glutes just want to be sort of semi-on. And what you don't want to do is start off by pulling too much with your hands and your upper back. You need to try and be as loose as possible here initially. And then as you start to initiate, you want to drive your quads into the pad. Quads into the pad, hips into the pad. So from here to here is in the pad. And then as I'm there, I'm then curling over and squeezing, and I'm coming down. And as I'm coming down, I'm pushing away. So I'm pushing my legs away to keep as much tension on as possible. I'm not coming up and going like this and then coming down. Quads and hips into the pad. I'm up and I'm over and I'm squeezing and I'm forcing away. I'm up and I'm over and I'm squeezing and I'm forcing away. And that's essentially what you want to try. Up and over, squeeze, forcing away, always dragging, never throwing. Right, working set number 1, hamstrings, let's go. I'm locking down, I'm not scrunching. I'm taking the weight on the hamstring. And we're dragging and squeezing. We have settled with the Atlantis. No, this isn't Atlantis. What is it? Arsenal leg press. It's okay. It's I've just put 6 plates on there. So what I do is I'll do 3 sets here, but I'll usually go like 7 plates, 8 plates, 9 plates, or whatever. Get heavier each set. But I'll start on 5. If after a working set of 5 I can jump to 7, I will. And then finish on 9. I think I'll be okay. I just need to, this first set, I just need to be sensible. Which isn't always easy. With this, again, just trying my best to mimic the hip press really. So my legs are going to be a little bit higher. I'm still going to go for maximum depth for what I can allow. before I start to feel it on my lower back, my glute, or it comes off my quad. Once I find the range where it stays on my quad, I will stay there. Externally, I don't care if it looks like I'm moving this fucking much or I'm moving this much, as long as internally I can feel where I need it to feel, or feel where I need to feel it. So higher rep set to start with, and then we'll get into 2 heavier working sets. Just really trying to find that groove here. Weight's not light, not heavy, sorry. Just get a good set first, and then we go. That was okay. A little bit light, but managed to get a fairly rep out of there. A couple more plates on, and then 9 out of 10. 2 slightly lower rep. 2 slightly lower rep sets, and then leg extensions. No, I'm happy with that. Considering I weren't too sure if I could even do any quads today, I'll take that. Like I said, I just need to be careful not to fucking get too carried away now. See you in 5 minutes when I fucking snap my shit up. I managed to navigate the leg press successfully. And then we're going to move on to leg extension as mentioned. This is the new tech one. Really, really nice actually, this kit. I used it when I was in Las Vegas with Milos, when it first sort of got released, which was a few years ago. And I had a little bit of a feel of this the other day when I knew I was going to be coming here, and yeah, really nice. The primes are fine. I usually load the primes for the different rep ranges, bottom, middle and top in that order. But I'm just going to run 3 straight through here. I have tried going to my usual depth on this. It's weird, like when my quad goes into a bigger stretch, it almost pulls my posterior. So I've just set the stopper, so I'm just past parallel. So it's a little bit more shallow than I would normally go, but the depth is good enough, it suffices. I do like to usually lift my hips into this movement to get as much stretch up here as possible. Don't think I'm going to be able to get that today, but nonetheless, I can still produce a good 3 sets, which is important. Nothing has been lost, and actually the leg session feels reasonably decent, so I'm quite happy with that. There's nothing worse than coming away from a session and just feeling that it's not come together. So good day so far, touching fucking wood. Right, 3 sets of this. First set working set, all out. Yeah, buddy. Just not the usual depth. It does have a seatbelt on it, this, but I'm not going to need to use it. Not with this load. So again, I'm sort of here. Whereas I would like my legs to be sort of like here, I just can't get that far without it hurting. So for now, just going to concentrate on making sure that my toes are pointed and that my knees are in. Because when you have big legs, everything gets pushed out like this because of adductor and basically just your hips as well. So really trying to remember to actually fold this in and then go from this line rather than going out like this, because that's going to make a big difference. I'm really just trying to almost think of trying to hit here, which means my legs have to be like this in line, and as soon as they come out, I'm just going to get VMO. So I need to make sure that my hip flexibility is in a good place so I can just keep bringing this through here. Lock in. These handles, they do have handles here, but these staggered handles for some reason feel better. Don't know why. As long as my hips stay straight, I'm happy. So if it looks a bit weird, sorry. Right. Come on, come on, come on. So, yeah, the staggered handles didn't work. They did in the warm-ups when the weight was a little bit lighter, and that just fucking ruined it, but I didn't. Good stimulus, good feel. Maybe get away with going a plate heavier in the next couple. So essentially, one thing that I try and teach my clients, especially once we're at a level where you can hit stimulus, is we want to be in and out of the set as quick as possible. If we have 3 sets and we're in 3 of them sets for 1 minute each, it's better if we can get in and out of them sets in 15 seconds. And it's not about load, and it's not about pace or anything, it's about trying to tax the muscle as quickly and as efficiently as possible and then get out. The less time we spend in reaching that stimulus, the better. And that's why obviously high volume obviously is probably frowned upon because you're in sets and it's much more demanded. However, sometimes in order to stimulate a muscle, it has to be high volume. For example, on my chest, say for example, if I load something up and I do 6 reps, it's far too heavy just for my chest to press it. But if I put something in, I do it for 15 reps. The first 7 or 8 of them reps may be getting potentiation reps. It may just be getting the muscle to feel, allowing the tension to get on safely. And then the last portion of the set is then effective reps. That's what it takes. So it's all right saying, oh, you only need 5 to 7 reps or whatever. But it's how you get them 5 to 7 reps. It's not 5 to 7 reps in a set, because the first 3 reps may just be moving. 5 to 7 of 5 effective reps essentially. So here now, I can hit my quads very well. If I can get 8 to 10 reps here, which I will, I'm in and out of the set, rather than having to do now 15, 20 reps again on the same. I don't have to do it. I can get the tension on and get the stimulus quicker. So getting in and out. But again, the caveat to that is, and this is where bodybuilding's so nuanced, is if I do that on the leg press or the hack squat, I have to have fucking 7 plates aside on like the side X or something like that, which is gonna fucking, my knees are tiny, my knees are like this big, and something's gonna give before the muscle or before the strength. because I'm fucking loaded up on anabolic steroids when my body's supposed to be fucking running around fields or some shit like that, not this weight. So you're happy with that. 2 more here, and then can't remember what we've got actually. Seated ham curl. So it's a proper basic beach leg day this. Seated ham curl, and then split squats, which is something that you wouldn't normally see me do, but I'm really enjoying them actually. Good stimulus for the glute. So I'll finish this, stop trying shit, get into that stage where I feel a little bit delirious, which is my favourite part. Seated arm. Is my head fucking massive, or it just never fit in frame? Right, I'll put it in next time. You don't need to see my face. So seated hamstring curl. A couple of tips for this. Again, similar to the leg extension really, especially for people with big adductors or just big legs in general, or just people in general, because people do tend to do this. I've been guilty of it in the past. Is same again. Your feet and your ankles want to be over your knees and in line with your hips. It's really easy to go wide. Same again. Really what we want to be doing is our feet want to be turned in as much as we can. Like they still may look like they're straight, but we don't want them turned out. Again, in to bring our knees in line with our hips. And almost like, do you know if you're going to do like a pendulum squat? That's how I think. It's like if I'm going to do a straight, like a pendulum squat where my feet are straight, then I'm there. Make sure your knee is lined up with the cam, and then you're nice and locked in. And then another cue is, rather than, if you have the mobility to slightly lean forward and it doesn't stretch your hamstrings to the point where it's going to fucking snap, I would do that. And then what you want to do is you want to drive your knees into the pad. So knees come up, like feet don't come down, knees come up and feet come under, right? So finding a position where I'm locking myself in, I'm trying to keep my hips back. There's going to be some hip movement. I don't care who you are. If there isn't some hip movement, then you're just not lifting heavy enough, or hard enough. I'm locked in as much as I can physically get in here because my quads are stopping it. And then my feet are straight. My ankles are over my knees. I'm physically turning my feet in, even though it doesn't look like it. That's just my mobility. It's not very good. And then I'm thinking about knees up, feet underneath, and that contraction right there is just so fucking hard. So it's under and up, and it literally feels like it's going to rip my fucking leg off. And there's obviously no weight on there, but that contraction is absolutely solid. So I'm just feeling that, and now I literally just want to replicate that with a little bit more load. And again, one thing you don't want to do is this. Bring yourself forward, try and keep yourself back. Knees up, feet under, boom. Everything in line. Don't point your toes, don't have them out, don't have any gap between this so you can do this and you have to lift your leg up. You want to be pinned in as much as possible. Zero wiggle room, and this is why this is so good. It allows you to get into the lengthened under a lot of control and no wiggle. It allows you to get very, very short, or at least a hard contraction in the short. So it's a really, really good movement. Like, arguably, if your hamstrings are down and you're trying to do the lying hamstring curl and it's just not working, an alternative is to grip the dumbbells between your feet and do it like that. That's quite good because you're actively squeezing your adductors together as well. But starting with this, there's going to be a lot of stimulus here. Listen to something like an RDL, SLDL, even potentially would be two really good starting points in a session for weak hamstrings. So same again, I'll crack on with a working set, just 2 sets on here for me, and then we'll head over to do some dumbbell work. That's a good a set as you'll see. I used this on myself. Nice and accurate. Everything on the muscle failed, didn't need to do any more. Job done. Doesn't have to look aggressive, it doesn't have to sound aggressive. Sometimes it does, don't get me wrong, but between 10 and 15 reps there, full control. Tension from top to bottom didn't come off. Happy with that. One more. Right, so with these now we're going to do some split squats, but not with the foot elevated, just with both feet on the floor. And that's going to look like, essentially I want the dumbbell in the hand that I'm going to be squatting with. And then from here, all I'm thinking about, this other leg, I'll completely forget about it. That's just to stabilize, and so is this. I'm not putting any pressure on these two. And essentially all my focus is through here. It's through this. Like this here, I'm cutting this off. I'm only thinking about this. And that's it. Everything is through here, and it's pushed through the outside of my heel, not through the inside of my heel. So all the pressure is going through here, right? And then what I'm looking to do here is I'm trying to get my knee over my toe as much as possible. So my hand and my feet are playing no role, and I'm bending my knee over, and as I'm here, then I'm getting my glutes to push forward my knee even further, and then I'm getting my glutes to come out and up. So from this position here, I'm out and up. Heel on the floor, knee over, glutes force that knee over a bit more. First thing I do is push back. And then when I'm in this position here, like if I lock my knee, it'll feel like I'm gonna jar it. That's where you wanna be. I'm gonna come down, spend a second, drive out, there. Now if you can do this with 30 or 40 kilos, and you've not got fucking 35-inch legs, then you're doing it wrong. So nothing's been touched with this. Again, I have my back leg, and I'm this. Already I can feel that absolutely rock solid on. So that's where we want to be with this. Last exercise, calf raise, vascular. First time I've seen a fucking vein in what, 10 weeks. Master on tongue. If I think about it, I did 600 milligram for 7 weeks. And now 8 weeks of 1,000 milligram. So technically I've been on a cruise for 15 weeks. Technically. Which must mean I'm gonna be super fucking responsive. I'd like to think anyway, at least. We shall see. 4 days in. So essentially what I do here is I just alternate between the standing and then the seated, really. For 50 reps across the board. If I fail on, well, I'll do 25 max. The prerequisite of the thing for calves for me is that I feel it and I'm not just bouncing and it's not going through my shin and it's not going through my knee or the back of my knee. It's actually on calf. A standing calf raise is far superior to a seated. So if you have the opportunity to do a standing, always do a standing. The reason why I'm doing this today is just because it's available. The one at Derby isn't the best. I really do like this one. The pad's nice and hard, so it doesn't sink your knees into it. So I'll do like 20-25 on here, and then I'll go on the standing up until failure, and then just keep coming backwards and forwards till I hit 50 reps. Then that would be calves done. I've done 7,000 steps, and usually I like to leave the gym and I've hit 8,000 steps through the day. I always do a little bit less on leg day because I'm leaning on machines between sets so I'm not wandering, and the leg day equipment is quite close together, whereas on a usual day I'm walking to the cables and back over to the side of the gym, so I'll lose some steps there. So what I'll do is I'll just do a walk on the treadmill to hit the 8,000, to hit 1,000 steps. That way I've got my same expenditure when I get home, which is generally cooking my meals and then a little wander around the block, and then generally like 10-15 minutes on the walking pad just after my turkey and potato meal. But all in all, I am going to take that with both hands actually. Session's not done yet, obviously, still got to finish calves. And I normally do delts at the beginning of a leg day, which I forgot to mention. However, the two delt machines here are pretty, the Atlantis one doesn't close in enough to get the stretch, and the Prime one gives me issues, so I didn't want to do it because tomorrow I hit delts tomorrow anyway, but I usually just use the Atlantis raise at Derby, which is really, really nice. It's really sympathetic on my shoulder, so I don't want to fuck about with that today when I'm training them tomorrow anyway. And I'll just take the hit on that and then back to usual for next week. So that is going to be it. I don't really think there's anything more to add. Obviously next video I'll tell you the results of the GL growth, whatever the fuck it is, and everything what's going on there. There's a few other updates, but yeah. Do you know what? I reckon a big dog will give me a high day within the next week. I do feel quite pulled down today. My undershorts feel quite loose. I don't feel as full and as big, which is going to happen in the prep, absolutely. But I just feel like today legs pull me down anyway, and then tomorrow upper day as well, a big day, may pull me down a little bit too far, but we'll see. We'll see. At least things are moving, and now we can get in control of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call it there. Thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you next time with something, I'm not too sure what, but we're on a roll now. Still no shows picks, but prep, week 1, day 1, day 4, let's be good. Cheers guys.